When was the last time you touched some grass? No, seriously, when was it? When was the last time that you went outside, sat down in your backyard or in a park, and literally touched grass? It sounds ridiculous, but I mean it. Think about it. If you're like me, you probably can't even name the last time you touched grass. The last time you went into a park and sat on a bench without a phone or a book. The last time you laid down and let the sun shine on your skin for no purpose other than to feel its warmth. We live in an artificial world that's constructed for consumption and safety. Everything is supposed to be easy and harmless, and if your every action isn't spent on stimulating the economy or producing something of value, then you are a waste of time and space. You should be watching your favorite TV show, scrolling through your TikTok feeds to see what irrelevant cultural trends you've missed in the last 24 hours, improving yourself, learning new skills, or thinking about money. Come on, dude, you just need to do more. The answer is always more. But while you're doing this, you know what you aren't doing? Touching grass. Listening to the sounds of the birds chirping, if you're even lucky enough to live somewhere that still has birds. You aren't watching the clouds and trying to come up with what they look like. You aren't listening to the rain or observing how the water droplets pool up in random patterns on your window. You are consuming. Buying the next tier of the battle pass, staying up to date with the news, listening to your favorite podcast, or updating your profile photo, or scrolling through Reddit, or messaging people on Discord, or... Okay, I'll stop now. I believe that we aren't made to live at this pace, and that because of how quickly everything moves these days, we're missing out on what really matters, the world around us. This is something that I've been feeling a lot lately, as the increasing responsibilities of my job and social obligations have slowly pulled me away from my physical world. I've been spending more and more hours on my computer, tied into an artificial environment and longing for something deeper. And for a while, I didn't really know what I was looking for. I felt unfulfilled, but I didn't know what I needed to do to make that feeling go away. So I hit it with more screen time and the feeling got worse. And chances are, you feel this way too. The thing is, the feeling won't go away by drowning yourself in YouTube shorts and video games. It goes away by touching grass. Here's what I mean by this. I just spent a few days in Glacier National Park in Montana doing 8, 9, and 10-mile hikes for a few days without screens, without internet, and without external stimulation. I've never been a huge hiking or outdoorsman kind of guy, but these few days in the mountains really opened up my mind in a way that I hadn't experienced in a very long time. Glacier National Park is the bear capital of the United States, with more grizzly bears than anywhere else other than Alaska. There are signs around every corner of every hike that tell you to stay prepared, to bring bear spray, and that the park isn't responsible for your death. It's low-key terrifying. As someone who lives in a city, miles away from the nearest nature and half the country away from the nearest grizzly bear, I was extremely hesitant to even go to Montana to begin with. I didn't admit it out loud, but all I thought about was the chances of running into a bear. But as my burnout continued to increase with work, I felt that it was more and more necessary for me to get away from it all and get into nature. I hadn't been somewhere that made me uncomfortable in a really long time, and I felt like I needed to connect to something more meaningful in the world to save me from the exhaustion of the internet. With everything going on in politics and the cost of living going up and the job market and progressing in my career and growing the channel, and all of these obligations that I feel were thrown onto me kept me distracted in my day-to-day life. It kept me so distracted that I would wake up, stare at a screen, and next thing you know, the day was over. The world we live in today is really draining if you're up to date with everything, and it leads to a sense of anxiety that's almost impossible to escape. That's why mental health is in such decline, and that's why I bought the plane ticket to Montana even with my fear of grizzly bears. I was insanely on edge the first hike we went on. I've never really been this far out into nature, but as the hikes and the days went on, I began to love it. Sure, I was still a little on edge, especially when we did a hike that was literally on the edge of a cliff at 5:30 in the morning in the fog on a trail that had a grizzly bear encounter just a few days before, but I embraced that discomfort, and as we progressed on the hike, I felt all of my concerns, all of my stresses, and all of my anxieties, minus the slight one of the bears, drift away. I felt my mind open up. I felt clear, and I felt like I could see my future in a way that everyday distractions prevented me from doing. I felt right, and I felt like I needed to bring this stuff up in a video. It sounds hippie and maybe kind of cringe to say it, but the truth of the matter is that nature heals you. We've spent all of human history in nature in one way or another, and it's only over the last 100 years or so that humans have lived in cities, in concrete wastelands full of pollution, noise, and chaos without easy access to some form of nature. We're so isolated and compartmentalized now that nature has become something that's entirely separate from the rest of life, something that you need to seek out. But nature is life, and trying to separate the two causes us to give up a core element of what makes us human. We have no connection to the world around us anymore, to the birds and the trees and the grass. They're just things. The food at the grocery store is just sustenance that you put into your body while watching brain rot Minecraft videos. The way that your food got onto the plate is irrelevant. It's there and is yours for the taking. The grass is mowed by someone else. The heat in the winter comes from some mysterious power plant. The cold from a hidden AC unit somewhere in your house. The wind is an annoying thing that messes up your hair, and the rain does nothing but make it so that you have to order Uber Eats instead of going to pick something up from a restaurant yourself. We've gotten so comfortable that we forgot nature exists at all. And thinking like this is a big part of why you feel so off when you sit at a computer all day and never see the sun while working in a cubicle. I was feeling so insanely burnt out and unsatisfied before I went on my trip to Montana, and just a few hours a day for a weekend walking around in the woods gave me new ideas, cleared my head, and made me feel more present when I got back. And I still feel the benefits of that trip today, even a few weeks later. I'm not making this stuff up, the science speaks for itself. In 2024, a meta-analysis of 59 different studies on the topic found that people who spent a lot of time in green spaces had 9% lower odds of common mental health problems, including depression and anxiety, when compared to people who weren't exposed to nature. A 2-hour walk in the forest lowered systolic blood pressure by a considerable amount and cortisol levels in saliva by 12% in a study with Hungarian adults. Japanese forest bathing sessions cut adrenaline measurements by 30% when compared to urban walks. And there are even studies about how just a few minutes per day in nature helped improve people's attention spans. I'll link all of these studies on my Buy Me a Coffee page if you're interested, and if you want to be that guy who argues sources, but the evidence is there, nature heals. Because, well, when you're in nature, you are present. You are human. You aren't trying to multitask or force your way through a problem and solution. You're letting your mind wander gently and noticing the sounds and sights around you. You aren't being overstimulated by countless noises and people around you and responsibilities. You're living in your most natural state without the expectations of society. And if you can, you should take advantage of it because it helped my mental health quite a bit, and I think it could help yours too. It's obviously not realistic to go to Montana every time you need nature. And if you live in a city, it can be hard to even find nature to begin with. So be more practical. Try to get 120 minutes in a natural setting every week, whether it's a small park in the middle of a busy city, a beach, a wooded area with some trees, or a small pond. Spend time outdoors, without stimulation, without audiobooks and podcasts and music, and just observe the world that we've grown to neglect. If you don't like sitting still, find something to do outside rather than inside that you still find entertaining. Start gardening, learn to do yoga, try fishing, or drive and go for a walk in the nearest nature to your house. Or just go in your yard or the area around your apartment building and chill on a bench somewhere near grass. It really is that simple. If you're feeling the inevitable burnout, exhaustion, and overstimulation that comes from our increasingly bizarre modern world, the easiest way to feel more human and less robotic is to embrace the human element that we've given up in exchange for convenience. To remember that our world is connected and that everything around you is alive, breathing the same air that you breathe. Take time to enjoy your food and appreciate the beauty that nature produces. Processed, manufactured foods and snacks and all this other stuff that comes out of a factory and is shipped to store shelves around the world may taste good, but there's something special about seeing a piece of fruit and knowing that the world produced it for you to enjoy. That nature did something magical and that you're blessed to be able to see what it did for you. I mean, dude, have you ever eaten a perfectly ripe mango? I don't see why Fruit Loops are more enjoyable than that. That mango came from nature, dude. How? It doesn't even make sense. Or the fact that you could just walk up to a bush and it has blueberries on it and you could eat that directly from the earth, that's just crazy to me. It's funny because a lot of my friends would genuinely make fun of me for saying stuff like this, but I feel in my heart that as humans, we've lost a large part of what it means to be human. It isn't natural to consume without seeing how things are produced, to get your food delivered with no connection to the ingredients or even the person cooking it, to drink water that just flows out of the faucet into your cup without understanding that it came from the earth. All the luxuries of modern life that we've taken for granted all came from nature, and if you could take a step back to see how it's all connected and how generous the natural world is, it can help you to see that we're all just living on a floating rock in space and that maybe we should get along a little bit better. I began to realize this after I read a book called The Serviceberry, which talks about these exact types of topics. It was a pretty good book, and it really opens up your mind and helps you envision what the world would be like if we all just got one step closer to nature. So I linked it in the description on my bookshop site that has all of my favorite book recommendations if you want to check it out. It's a quick read, and honestly I really enjoyed it. Do you think that we've become too disconnected from nature, that we need to spend more time outdoors? What's stopping you from touching grass? Let me know in the comments. I know this video is a bit different from what I usually make, but it's something that I've been itching to talk about for a while, so I'd love to hear your thoughts on these types of topics over on the Discord, which is linked below. We have over 2,000 members, and I'd love to see you over there. It's full of mission-driven people who enjoy these types of videos, and it's a great place to make new friends online. And if you like what I'm doing here, consider supporting by buying me a coffee using the link in the description. It helps to keep the channel up and running, and it fuels my insane caffeine addiction. That's it for our conversation today, and we will talk again soon.